We'd been married 5 years, and the sight of him, toned and bronzed in the twilight, still sent a delicious shiver down my spine. Tonight, however, something was off. A shadow flickered across his usually vibrant blue eyes. "Penny for your thoughts, darling," I purred, trailing my fingertips down his bare chest as he leaned over the kitchen counter, gulping down water. He flinched at my touch, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Just thinking about work?" he muttered, his voice strained. "A potential new client just popped up." My smile faltered. Nicholas, a brilliant computer scientist, was in high demand, but work had never cast such a long shadow on our evenings. "Is everything all right?" I ventured, a sliver of unease worming its way into my heart. He forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Of course, love. Just a bit complicated, that's all." He reached out, his touch tentative, and brushed a strand of hair from my face. "Maybe we should..." The doorbell's jarring chime cut him off. Annoyance flickered across his face, mirroring my own. We rarely had visitors unannounced, and at this late hour, Nicholas straightened, wiping his brow. "I'll get it." I followed him, a premonition of unease tightening my throat. On the porch stood a woman, bathed in the soft glow of the porch light. Her blonde hair was cut in a stylish bob, framing a face that was undeniably beautiful. High cheekbones, a perfect nose, and eyes that held the shimmering blue of a summer sky. "Nicholas?" she breathed, a note of disbelief in her voice. "Is it really you?" Nicholas's jaw clenched. "Elena," he said, his voice tight. "What are you doing here?" The way his voice tightened, the flicker of recognition in his eyes. It was like a punch to the gut. This woman, Elena, her name hung heavy in the air, a ghost from his past. The next few minutes were a blur. Introductions were made, strained and awkward. Elena explained she was in town on business, a chance encounter leading her to our doorstep. I offered a strained smile, the warmth in the California evening suddenly chilling on my skin. Elena was everything I wasn't. Sophisticated, chic, radiating a confidence that bordered on arrogance. As they talked, their conversation flowed with an ease that spoke of a shared history, one that left me feeling like a voyeur in my own life. The evening stretched like an eternity. Elena finally excused herself, the memory of her lingering perfume like a physical presence. The moment the door closed, the tension in the room became suffocating. "Nicholas," I began, my voice trembling. "Who is she?" He sighed, his hands raking through his hair. "Elena," he said, his voice flat. "An old friend from college. We haven't seen each other in years." "Friend," I repeated, the word a bitter taste on my tongue. The way they looked at each other, the comfortable intimacy of their conversation, it spoke of something far deeper. He turned to me, his eyes pleading. "Serena, it's nothing. It was just seeing her after so long." But the damage was done. The seed of doubt had been sown. Over the next few days, a shadow fell over our relationship. Nicholas became withdrawn, his phone glued to his hand, stolen glances flashing across the screen. The jasmine scent that had once filled our bedroom was replaced by a gnawing fear, a growing suspicion. One night, unable to sleep any longer, I reached for my phone. Nicholas's usually unlocked phone was secured with a passcode. A surge of anger coursed through me. We shared everything, or so I thought. With trembling fingers, I searched through his emails, a cold dread settling in my stomach. There they were, a string of emails exchanged with Elena, an undercurrent of something deeper simmering within the words. Tears welled up in my eyes. It wasn't just a friendship. There was history, a connection that threatened to unravel the life I'd built with Nicholas. The next morning, I confronted him. He confessed, his words laced with guilt and regret. They'd been close in college, a summer romance that they'd promised to rekindle after graduation. But life had taken them down different paths. Now, seeing each other again, the old feelings had resurfaced. I listened, the air heavy with the weight of his confession. My heart ached for the betrayal, for the future I'd envisioned. The revelation shattered the fragile bubble of our marriage. Days turned into a tense standoff. Nicholas, consumed by guilt, tried to reach out, his touch hesitant, his apologies heartfelt but hollow. I retreated within myself, the jasmine scent now a constant reminder of his betrayal. One stormy night, the tension reached a boiling point. Rain lashed against the windows, mirroring the tempest raging within me. Nicholas found me in the library, a haven I'd sought refuge in during those long, agonizing days. He stood there, rain slicking his hair, his eyes filled with a desperation that mirrored my own. "Serena," he rasped, his voice thick with emotion. "I love you. You're my wife, my everything." His words hung in the air, a desperate plea. But the love I felt for him was now entangled with the bitter sting of betrayal. Tears blurred my vision. "Do you love her, Nicholas?" The question tore from my throat, raw and painful. He hesitated, then shook his head, his denial laced with anguish. "No, Serena. Never. It was a summer fling, a mistake. You're the woman I love, the one I want to spend my life with." His words held a desperate sincerity. But trust, once broken, was a delicate thing to mend. In the flickering candlelight, his face seemed etched with pain. Suddenly, a raw need for him, for the man he truly was, surged within me. Tears streamed down my face as I met his gaze. "Then prove it to me, Nicholas," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides, his hands cupping my face, his touch both familiar and electrifying. He kissed me then, a desperate, searching kiss that spoke of his love, his regret, and his desperate need for forgiveness. The kiss was a whirlwind, a storm mirroring the one raging outside. It was rough, passionate, a release of all the pent-up emotions that had been churning within us. His hands roamed my body, reacquainting themselves with the curves he knew so well. I clung to him, my traitorous body responding despite my emotional turmoil. We stumbled towards the bedroom, the storm outside mirroring the one brewing within. His touch ignited a fire within me, a desperate need for solace and understanding. The clothes came off in a flurry, hands fumbling, fueled by raw emotions. We fell onto the bed, tangled limbs and frantic kisses. It was a primal dance, a desperate attempt to reconnect, to find solace in the familiar touch of each other's skin. His touch was both familiar and new, heightened by the tension that had stretched between us. He explored my body with a newfound tenderness, a desperate need to erase the wounds he'd inflicted. I responded in kind, my inhibitions melting away with each touch, each kiss. The storm outside reached its crescendo, the wind howling like a mournful cry. Inside, our own storm raged, a tempest of emotions culminating in a release so intense it left us breathless and spent. We lay tangled in the aftermath, his body a warm weight against mine. The storm outside had subsided, replaced by an unsettling calm. In the quiet, the weight of what transpired settled heavily upon me. "This doesn't erase what happened, Nicholas," I whispered, my voice hoarse. He nodded, tracing circles on my bare arm. "I know. I just wanted you to know how much I love you."